Chapter 13:11. Spirit. When Su Ming had borrowed the aura from the stone pieces in the jade boxes to return to the vast space an unknown number of eons ago, and did not run from facing the black-robed young man but instead turned his will into a sword and charged forward. Lord Saint Defier Xianxia, sitting in the hall belonging to the three Lord Saint Defiers, closed his eyes. His body trembled non-stop. The beast bones in front of him instantly crumbled. His predictions had received interference from a huge force, causing him to look as if he wanted to open his eyes. Pain appeared on his face. It was as if the power to allow him to open his eyes had come from space itself. It was as if there was a power there that somehow prevented Xianju from being able to predict anything about Su Ming. However, he was Lord Saint Defier who had the longest lifespan in both Saint Defier and Dark Dawn's camps. He had the greatest amount of accumulated experiences, and his thoughts covered so many aspects that an ordinary cultivator in Avicania realm could not hope to compare to him. The moment these beast bones shattered and were reduced to ash and his eyes were forced open, Xianju pushed himself to close his eyes. At the same time, he lifted his right hand and seized space with his fingers before he said one single word, Duo 1. When he said that word, his right hand shuddered. The other two Lord Saint Defiers saw Xianju's right hand instantly melt into a puddle of blood. The bones in his arm were revealed, but he did not stop moving. It was as if he could not feel pain. He stretched his arm into space, and the instant he touched it, all 180 expanse cosmoses in Saint Defier's camp shuddered with a bang. At the same time, the old man's fingers seemed to have caught onto something concrete. He yanked it out, and the bones of his index finger were crushed. Another finger was soon crushed, and it was soon followed by a third. When 3 of his fingers were gone, a ball of fog was yanked out of space. That fog was a cyclone. It rotated non-stop before Xianju and exuded waves of ancient presence. It seemed to have come from the past. If anyone came into contact with it, they would feel as if their entire bodies were about to rot. Cold sweat dripped down from Xianju's forehead. The other two Lord Saint Defiers watched everything with fixed stares. This was not the first time they had seen Xianju making predictions, but it was the first time they saw him in such a wretched and horrifying state while casting his art. After a moment, Xianju's eyes flew open. They were bloodshot, and the blood capillaries even reached his pupils, as if they had formed a blood-red rune. He coughed up blood, and in an instant, he became older. The cyclone in front of him started showing signs of dissipating. Xianju looked as if he had become much older. When he coughed up blood, he did not stop once he started. He coughed up 9 consecutive mouthfuls of blood, and with each time, his aura became weaker. When he coughed up the 9th mouthful of blood, he took a few steps back, and he looked so old that he resembled a corpse that had rotted for years in a coffin. He might have aged and coughed up 9 mouthfuls of blood, but Xianju began laughing loudly. It was hoarse, but there was even surprised delight in his voice. He might have been weakened, but his laughter seemed to be telling the other two lords that he had predicted what he wanted to see. The broken army too will descend. Harmonious Morus Alba's disaster. Su Ming's disaster. He will definitely die in that disaster, and he can't run away from it. This disaster has already appeared. His will shall be destroyed in the past, and without the past, there is no future. He is already dead. Before the old Xianju could finish speaking, his expression changed, but before he could do anything else, his body shuddered. The dissipating cyclone before him suddenly looked like a withered tree suddenly blooming once more. It stopped dissipating, and it looked like it was rapidly returning to space. That's impossible. This is... Madness appeared in Xianju's eyes. At the instant he was about to grab the cyclone again. In Dark Dawn's camp, Su Ming's eyes flew open. Spirit. Su Ming was in the 137th expanse cosmos in Dark Dawn's camp, and the sovereign of Dawn Yangpei was staring at Su Ming. The man from Bear Chart tribe and all his people were pale-faced. During that instant just then, they could clearly sense a thick wave of aura of death coming from Su Ming's body. That aura was so strong that it felt like it could drown the entire expanse cosmos. But at the instant it was about to fill the expanse cosmos to the brim, it disappeared without a trace. It was at that moment that Su Ming opened his eyes and said that one word. His will returned to his body, and it was as if everything before had just been an illusion. They were a series of events that had never occurred in the real past, but from them, Su Ming felt as if he had been baptized and become different in a manner that no one else could see, but he himself could sense clearly. When he opened his eyes, he had said that one word, spirit. Su Ming did not know why he said it, but somehow, with this aura as a lead, he had been able to travel to the ancient past, moving between the illusory past and reality. Due to his will being destroyed in the past, he had let out that indistinct word that would last for an eternity until his will gathered together again. That one word was spirit. It was a single word, but it felt as if there was a supreme form of profundity contained in it. At the instant Su Ming opened his eyes, light shone in them as if the indignation he felt in his heart previously had went away. His thoughts, which had not been clear, became such, and his restless mind immediately returned to its previous state. And all of this was related to that one word that seemed to be one of a kind in the vast expanse since time began an eternity ago. Su Ming did not know what that connection was, but he could vaguely sense that when he came to understand it in the future, his cultivation base and his level of cultivation would rise again, reaching a realm that would perhaps allow him to become the same as the black-robed young man. It was a goal that had never appeared in Su Ming's heart before, but right then, it formed. The young man was a danger. Perhaps he was Su Ming's disaster, but Su Ming was no longer feeling indignant or had an unclear, restless mind, because he had found his direction. When he unintentionally said that word spirit, he felt as if he had been reborn. A powerful belief was born in his soul. If Su Ming had not had the determination to face the black-robed young man earlier, Su Ming would have been unable to do this. Only by facing it, only by not being fearful, and only when his heart, thoughts, and mind were all calm could he make that one word last for an eternity. And only by doing all of it, could he truly go through a metamorphosis and gain his new belief. If I can face you once, then I can face you a second too. It doesn't matter whether it's arid triad or harmonious morus alba. A brilliant light shone in Su Ming's eyes. As he mumbled under his breath, he lowered his head and looked around him. All cultivators who met his gaze felt their hearts shudder, and they lowered their heads. He lifted his right hand and swung his arm, putting away the final jade box floating before him. When it landed in his storage bag, he spoke to Yang Pei. I want you to obtain the results for the matter I asked you at the fastest speed you can muster. Other than that, I want you to give me a full map of Dark Dawn's camp. When Yang Pei hears his words, he immediately lowered his head and voiced his obedience. He was in an incredible state of shock. Besides Su Ming, Yang Pei's level of cultivation was the highest in this place, which was why he could see things that other people could not see. During that instant just then, he had a strong feeling that Su Ming seemed to have died. He was shrouded by the aura of death, which came from the past. It had oppressed everyone so much that they could not breathe. But when Su Ming uttered that one word, everything seemed to have instantly moved in reverse. It was as if a withered tree had bloomed again, and as if something rotten had transformed into something amazing. This scene repeated itself in Yang Pei's mind. While a storm raged in his head, the level of mystery surrounding Su Ming in his eyes became greater. Yang Pei brought out a jade slip. Once he handed it to Su Ming respectfully, he took a few steps back and waited for other orders. Su Ming took the jade slip. When he cast a glance at it, he turned his head back and stared at Yang Pei. He lifted his right hand and pointed at him. A vortex suddenly appeared at the center of Yang Pei's brow, and a hint of his soul instantly flew out. Once it fused with the jade slip, Su Ming put it away. Your soul has fused with the jade slip. Once you have the results, call out my name in your heart, and I will be able to read your mind. Su Ming turned around and took a step into space, instantly disappearing from the 137th expanse cosmos belonging to Bear Chart tribe. The bald crane followed him after him. Before it left, it turned its head back to cast a smug look at Yang Pei. However, that smugness was only surface level. When Su Ming had filled with the aura of death, it had sensed a fear and a chill it had never sensed before. It was at that moment that Lord Saint Defier Xianxia of Saint Defier's camp had tried to grab the cyclone again. He had indeed managed to seize it, but the moment he touched it, his right hand broke down. His body fell backwards, and he coughed up blood again. This time, his blood had black spots in it, as if he had suffered some sort of backlash. As he staggered back, the cyclone fused into the vortex and disappeared without a trace. That vortex is his life. I used my life in exchange for his so that I could lure it out. But I can do it only once in my life. I had clearly seen his death and seen his will crumble. He died under the power of the broken army. But he had clearly died in the past. Why is he still alive now? Why? How could this be? Xianxia mumbled as coughed up blood again. He then closed his eyes. While he did not die, his constitution was severely damaged, and he fell unconscious. A wave of cold air instantly rose in Xiaosong and Fei Hua's hearts, who were beside him. The two of them looked at each other and fell silent. It was also at that moment that Kang San-en-yu, the strongest sovereign of Dawn, opened his eyes in the spot where he meditated. Fighting spirit and killing intent appeared in his eyes. At the instant Su Ming left the 137th Expanse Cosmos, he sensed Su Ming's existence. I will fight you, and after that fight, I will be known as Sai-En-Yu. Chapter 13:12. What a load of nonsense. Su Ming walked through the galaxy in a long arc. Wherever he went, the space behind him would shine with a brilliant light. There were circles of light produced when his body scraped against the galaxy. Because of that, wherever Su Ming went, the sky and earth would shake. He did not intentionally conceal his presence, but neither did he specifically have his will spread out. He walked calmly in space with an indifferent look on his face, heading straight to the Spiritling's Expanse Cosmos based on the map of Dark Dawn, which was now an image in his head. He wanted to go to the Spiritlings. That place was his mother's homeland. There weren't many reasons to visit it, but he wanted to take a look. He was not returning to his roots, because Su Ming's roots were not in that place, and neither were they in the fifth true world. His roots were once in the land of Berserkers, and at another moment in time, in the ninth summit, but right then, Su Ming's roots were in his heart. It would be everywhere he went. There was no constant place for it, but that did not mean he drifted about either. It was, in fact, a domain. The Expanse Cosmos where the Spiritlings were located was incredibly far away for an ordinary cultivator. It would require a journey of hundreds or more than 1,000 years to reach that place after moving through Expanse Cosmos after Expanse Cosmos. Even if they used relocation runes, the number of crystals that would require would reach astronomical figures. There were few in Dark Dawn's camp who were worthy of moving through Expanse Cosmoses. But, in truth, there was no need for people to move through many Expanse Cosmoses. Most cultivators would only have to move through 2 or 3 in their entire life while practicing cultivation. But once a cultivator reached Avacania realm, everything would be different. While they still could not cross immeasurable distances with one thought, it was incredibly easy for them to move through Expanse Cosmoses, and if that was the case for those in Avacania realm, then it would be even more so for Su Ming. Practically every time he took a step forward, he would cross half of an Expanse Cosmos. Usually, it took him only 2 steps to move through an Expanse Cosmos. He continued walking until a barrier of another Expanse Cosmos appeared before him. Based on the description of the map in his mind, it was where the Spiritlings lived. Su Ming stood beyond the barrier. He did not immediately step in. Instead, he closed his eyes, and after quietly sensing the presence of the barrier for a moment, he opened his eyes and took a step forward. When he came into contact with the barrier, he disappeared into it. The bald crane, who had followed him throughout the journey, stepped into the Spiritling's Expanse Cosmos as well. Ripples spread out in a distant galaxy at that moment, and Kang San-en-yu's figure appeared. Killing intent was in his eyes, and there was an awe-inspiring expression on his face. With a swing of his arm, he turned into a long arc instantly. He came into contact with the barrier of the Expanse Cosmos, and as ripples resembling those of a disturbed lake appeared on the barrier, he disappeared as well. There was a huge block of ice floating in the galaxy belonging to the Spiritlings. The eyes of the woman Su Ming had seen while in Arid Triad Expanse Cosmos flew open at that moment. At the time Su Ming had went into Yin Death Vortex, she had chosen to leave. She returned to Dark Dawn's camp from Arid Triad's Gap, and once she returned to the Spiritlings, she chose to isolate herself to train again. Since she had already given Su Ming the sword and did not have the power to retrieve the power of the Spiritlings from him, she decided to give up. She did not continue pursuing the matter, because aside from it being related to the sacred lady of the previous generation, the more important reason was that Su Ming had awakened the Spiritlings' dragon of destruction. When Su Ming stepped into the territory of the Spiritlings, her eyes flew open while in the block of ice. A hint of hesitation appeared in her gaze as she looked into the distance. With her power, it was impossible for her to not notice Su Ming's arrival, and no matter what, she was the Spiritling's sacred lady. Su Ming's presence contained the will of the Dragon of Destruction, which was the brightest light in the darkness for her, and because of it, she could immediately sense it. After all, besides her status as a sacred lady, this expanse cosmos belonged to the Spiritlings. They had lived there and grown in numbers for countless years. The expanse cosmos was filled with the wills of countless Spiritlings. Su Ming's arrival caused all of them to feel as if they were boiling. They sensed the presence of the Dragon of Destruction, the supreme Spiritling spoken in their legends. "Is he here?" The woman was silent for a moment before she mumbled under her breath and stood up to disappear from the ice. There was a planet that was not very bright in the Spiritling's expanse cosmos, but it was regarded as an incredibly sacred existence. Its name was Bright Violet. Bright Violet Planet was the place where all the past tribe leaders, tribe elders, and the sacred ladies were laid to rest. The ancestors of the Spiritlings over the countless years were also buried there. Once they died, every single generation of the important people in the Spiritlings was buried on that planet. The sky was blue, and not many stars could be seen in it. The surface of the planet was a boundless ocean, making it clear that this was a planet occupied by ocean. There were quite a lot of islands on it, but no continents. Buried on each island were the tribe leaders, tribe elders, and sacred ladies of a generation. Those islands were densely packed together and were as numerous as the stars. They were protected by the Spiritlings every day and every night, which was a tradition which had lasted throughout many ages. At that moment, Su Ming stood quietly in the sky of the planet and looked at the seawater below him. Waves billowed there. When they tumbled about, they looked like sea dragons swimming about. When the sea was calm, it looked like a mirror. However, it was a mirror that could not reflect any images. It only showed the color of the sky. If anyone looked in the direction of Su Ming's gaze, they would see that he was looking at one of the many islands on the sea. That island was not big, but filled with a brilliant green due to all the plants growing on it. There were 3 altars on it, which was similar to the other islands. Each of them had 3 altars, and they were set up to form a triangle. The altar at the top belonged to tribe elders, the one on the bottom right to tribe leaders, and the one on the bottom left to sacred ladies. Su Ming looked over the altars quietly, his gaze penetrating through the distance to land on the tombstone of the sacred lady on the left of the island. The tombstone there was empty. All the islands with the tombstones of sacred ladies had the names of their sacred ladies carved on them. The records of their lives were also carved out. Only that one tombstone was empty. The empty state did not mean that the sacred lady was still alive, since there was no need to erect a tombstone for the living. She had died and was buried in the passage of time, but there were no words on her tombstone, and this provoked much thought. After a long while, Su Ming took a step forward and disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already standing on top of the altar, directly south of the tombstone. He stared at the empty tombstone. There was not even a name on it. There was only the faint remnant of a soul gathered there, but even it was fading away. The remnant of the soul caused Su Ming's heart to tremble when he sensed it. He stared at the stone monument in a daze, having sensed his mother's presence. Why are there no words on this tombstone? Is it because she did not want the descendants of her tribe to know of her existence, or is it because she doesn't want me? Su Ming was silent. There was a slightly melancholic look on his face. He could not describe what he felt at that moment. There were mixed feelings in him, sentiment, and also anguish. "Tell me, why?" Su Ming asked while staring at the tombstone. His words were not directed at the empty tombstone, but the person who had appeared behind him. It was not Kang San Nu, but a woman. She was the Spiritling's current sacred lady, the woman Su Ming had met in Arid Triad, his aunt. Before she reached the end of her time, she left behind a will saying that we were not supposed to say anything on her tombstone, because she felt that she had wronged the Spiritlings. She did not want her descendants to know her name. The woman who appeared behind Su Ming hesitated for a moment. When her voice echoed in the air, Su Ming brought his hand up swiftly and pushed his hand on the stone monument. His act of pushing his palm against the stone monument stunned the woman. Her first thought was that Su Ming wanted to crush the tombstone. Her expression changed. But just when she was about to move forward, Su Ming lifted his hand from the stone monument. Some stone powder appeared on his hand, and on it were traces of the remnant of the soul. Su Ming held it in his hand, then pushed it at the center of his brow. The marks of time immediately appeared on him. It was there only for a moment before disappearing without a trace. Su Ming turned around and took a step forward, immediately disappearing from the woman's gaze. She did not know where he was going, but her expression kept on changing non-stop. She did not manage to finish her sentence. She only uttered that one word before she stopped speaking. In silence, her gaze turned complicated, and she cast a glance at the altar of the previous tribe elder, which was situated at the top of the triangle. With a sigh in her mind, she turned around to leave. But right when she was about to leave, Su Ming's figure appeared out of nowhere. It was as if he had never disappeared before. The only thing that had gone away was the woman's vision of him. Su Ming had tried to sense the past by fusing himself with time when he cast the art of time. Because of that, he would give other people a misconception that he was gone, but in truth, he was always there. At the moment his figure appeared, Su Ming's expression grew dark. There was an anger that was rarely seen in his eyes. It was not a small spark of annoyance, but rage that could burn the heavens. When a weak person became angry, no one would be afraid of them, but when a powerful person became angry, they would affect the universe. When a cultivator was angry, they would cause blood to spill in all directions, but when almighties grew angry, they could reduce the universe to a wasteland. Everyone could see the ferocious look on Su Ming's face. The fire in his eyes felt like it could burn all lives, like a volcano that was about to erupt and bring about the end of the world. What a load of nonsense! Su Ming's voice was gloomy and dark when he turned around to face the woman. Her expression changed. At that moment, she felt as if Su Ming had turned into a murderous fiend from ancient times. With just one sentence and one glance, he caused her heart to roar, and she felt as if she was about to break down. She instinctively took a few steps back. But when she started moving back, Su Ming closed in on her. He raised his right hand and seized her throat. "I won't kill you." The moment Su Ming said those words in a cold tone, he squeezed her throat with his right hand. Her face became pale, but her expression did not change. However, numerous cracks appeared on the huge block of ice she used all year long as her isolation grounds in a spot far away from the island. With a bang, it crumbled to pieces. "I destroyed your life nourishment crystal as punishment for your silence in the past." The woman looked as if she still wanted to say something, but when she heard Su Ming's words, her face turned stark pale. She did not say anything anymore. When Su Ming released his grip, she took a few steps back and coughed up a mouthful of blood. In silence, she cast a glance at the empty tombstone, and tears fell from her eyes. "Big sister, I'm sorry. Next is you. You, who seized your people's kismet for longevity. Today, your longevity comes to an end." Su Ming turned around and lifted his head to cast his gaze on the tombstone of the tribe elder of the same generation. Chapter 13:13. Whose world is this? To abyss builders, the past was just a jade slip with history recorded in it, and it coincidentally had time fused into it. Perhaps other people would not be able to find or see the jade slip, which was why it would be difficult for them to know about it. But among the abyss builders, who possessed the art of time, some of the powerful warriors could see the ancient past. Su Ming could be said to be the strongest among the abyss builders. Without a lead, he could reverse the time to 10,000 years ago, while with a lead, he would have a specific timeline to go to. He could move further down the passage of time and see everything that he wanted to see. Such as the young man in black robes and his mother. She was a woman with a gentle personality. She had waited quietly for Su Ming's father to return, but before he did, Su Zhong died in battle, and Su Ming vanished with him. Such an event had a great impact on her, and she stopped smiling. When she reached the end of her life and she was buried beneath the altar, Su Ming saw in the memories of time that the words on the stone monument had been wiped off by an aged hand. The Spiritlings were a curious tribe. Their strength did not lie in the living, but in the ancestors who had died. Their ancestors might have passed away, but in truth, due to the uniqueness of the Spiritlings, it would be better to say that they were asleep. As they slept, They could absorb the beliefs of their people who worshipped them to maintain the strength of their souls so that they could gather together to gain corporeal form, and then they would wake up. They believed that they would surely wake up. This was what was unique about the spiritlings. It was just like Su Ming's version of Fate Realm among the four realms. He needed external fate to form his own laws of fate, and the ancestors of the spiritlings needed a similar form of power to maintain a certain degree of being imperishable. The worship required the ancestors' names to be known, which was why the ancestors of the spiritlings who died all had their names carved onto their tombstones. The hand that appeared on the tombstone belonging to Su Ming's mother had wiped off her name, which made it impossible for the descendants of the race to worship her, making the soul of Su Ming's mother to dissipate. When the words on the tombstone were wiped off, the current sacred Lady Su Ming's aunt had witnessed everything with her own eyes. While shivering, she tried to stop the man, but once the owner of the hand cast her a glance, her mind went numb, and she forgot to stop him, allowing him to wipe off all traces of the words on the tombstone. This was the past. It existed in the passage of time, allowing Su Ming to see it clearly. He also saw that the hand who wiped off the name on the tombstone belonged to a middle-aged man. He had no aura of flesh and blood, which meant he was a pure soul. Once he wiped off the words on the tombstone, he returned to his own tomb. The place where he disappeared was the spot where Su Ming had directed his gaze at that moment. It was the grave that belonged to the previous tribe elder. At the instant Su Ming looked over, the tombstone let out a piercing rumble. As it did so, a huge crack appeared on the stone monument, as if it could not withstand the rage in Su Ming's gaze. It was as if everything that Su Ming saw had to be destroyed. Even the dead would have to die again. Because the person who wanted to kill them was Su Ming. With a loud bang, the stone monument shattered into pieces. Su Ming took a step forward and raised his right hand to press down on the altar. With that one push, the world roared. It looked like an invisible hand landed on the altar, and it started shattering, layer by layer, starting from the platform. In an instant, it was reduced to ashes. A huge mark of a hand appeared on the ground. Beneath it was a shattered coffin. It was red in color, just like blood. At the instant it shattered, a hand shot out from its depths. That hand was withered and bony. Its fingernails were black and 3 feet long. When that arm appeared, a thick aura of death shot up into the sky. The hand pushed forward, and the coffin fell apart to reveal a thin middle-aged man dressed in a daoist robe. His hair was graying, and his eyes were long and narrow, but a red light shone in his pupils. A heinous murderous aura revealed itself, and it immediately caused a disturbance in spiritling expanse cosmos. Endless fluctuations of power appeared in it. The man had a strangely monstrous yet awe-inspiring air that could shock and intimidate all manner of lives. His words were slow, and his presence made him look like a supreme entity. He seemed to have gathered together the most supreme form of power in the world. Even the ghastly air about him seemed to have descended from all of spiritling expanse cosmos. But he only managed to say one word. Before he could utter a second one, Su Ming appeared before him. He lifted his right hand, and before the middle-aged man could react to the situation, Su Ming seized his neck and squeezed it tightly. A cracking sound shot up into the air, and he threw him violently to the ground. Su Ming used his full strength in his grip, so the middle-aged man's neck was completely crushed and his head shattered when it hit the ground. The throw had shaken the whole island. If Su Ming had not wanted the cultivation planet to be destroyed, his throw could have made the cultivation planet crumble. The middle-aged man's soul was shaken by Su Ming's sudden action. He let out a shrill scream of pain, and his body disappeared with a bang. He turned into fog, then instantly gathered together in the distance. When he looked at Su Ming, shock was in his eyes. The bizarre and monstrous air about him when he just appeared was gone. Instead, his eyes were wide open with disbelief. "Who are you?" The middle-aged man was the previous tribe leader, and he had met the sovereign of Dawn plenty of times in the past. His level of cultivation was also just below a Vanikaya realm. If it was not because of the uniqueness of the spiritlings and him being forced to die, there was a high possibility that he would have reached Avacania realm by then. However, since he was forced to die, he had become a soul that no longer had a body. With the years of nourishment, his soul had become stronger, and he had begun to gather together a shell that possessed some flesh and blood. However, When Su Ming seized him and threw him just then, all the power of worship he had absorbed was immediately crushed to bits. Su Ming's level of strength made his skin crawl, since it was something he had never encountered in his life. The anger on Su Ming's face also made the middle-aged man feel a chill in his heart. Su Ming did not even bother answering him. Instead, he moved forward, and in an instant, he appeared before the middle-aged man. He lifted his right hand and grabbed him. The tribe elder might have died once, but that intense feeling that his life was being threatened instantly rose in his soul again, but he did not dodge. Instead, madness appeared in his eyes. If Su Ming's killing intent was not strong, he would definitely find another way to solve this predicament, but he knew that Su Ming was intent on killing him. It was something he would be unable to resolve or neutralize no matter what. It was because of this that the middle-aged man instantly descended into madness. He did not dare to relax his guard even in the slightest bit, since the pressure Su Ming gave him was just too great. This is the Spiritling's expanse cosmos. Ancestors, please protect me. The middle-aged man immediately roared. At the instant Su Ming came to seize him, the middle-aged man swiftly formed a seal with his arms before him. The tombstones on all the altars on the islands in the planet shuddered. Countless sleeping souls flew up with their eyes shut. In an instant, they surrounded the middle-aged man's body. Those were the ancestors who had fallen asleep over the countless years. Some of them had already woken up, and some of them were still sleeping. But no matter what, the moment the middle-aged man called out to them, they flew out and fused to fight against the great disaster of their race. They had rushed over not because the middle-aged man had great power, but because this was an inborn ability belonging to all tribe elders. They could summon the spirits of their ancestors. The tribe elder of each generation could do this. When all the souls of the ancestors of the Spiritlings surrounded the middle-aged man and formed a vortex to handle Su Ming's hand, the world became dark. Countless ripples appeared in the Spiritling's expanse cosmos. It filled with the Spiritling's presence, and it seemed like the place completely transformed into the Spiritling's world. In fact, there was even a will in this expanse cosmos, and it was the Spiritling's will. No matter how strong you are, when you are among us Spiritlings, then if you suddenly harbor killing intent against me for no reason, you must die, you mad man. While the middle-aged man roared out his words, Su Ming's hand touched the vortex. As loud bangs rang out in the air, most of the vortex disintegrated and swept up the middle-aged man 100,000 feet away. A small portion of his soul immediately dissipated, causing his face to turn pale. The shock on his face became greater, but an air of arrogance also filled him. This expanse cosmos belongs to us Spiritlings. This is our sacred land. All the souls in this place and all the presences here, be it the past, present, or future, belong to the Spiritlings, and this is how this expanse cosmos will is formed. Can a mere person like you withstand the will of an expanse cosmos? The middle-aged man had a ferocious expression on his face as he glared at Su Ming. There was an intense madness in his voice. In his mind, since Su Ming wanted to kill him, he would completely destroy him, because he believed that Su Ming's strike could do nothing to him. Su Ming cast the middle-aged man a cold glance, and when he opened his mouth, his words were like a cold breeze that traveled into every direction. All right. I have never intended for you to compensate for your mistakes alone. If that is the case, then I will use all of the souls of your deceased to write down my mother's name on her tombstone again. Did you say that this expanse cosmos belongs to your people? At the instant Su Ming spoke, he lifted his right hand and seized the space in the direction of the sky. With a swift yank, the master of the galaxy changed once more. The will of Spiritling expanse cosmos was just like a firefly's light when compared to Su Ming's will, which was like a bright sun. When Su Ming grabbed it, it crumbled. With a yank, the entire expanse cosmos was instantly filled with Su Ming's will. The middle-aged man was stunned. He was completely dumbstruck as he stared at the sky with a blank expression. Chapter 13-14 Life Extermination Hall. The expanse cosmoses in Dark Dawn's camp could not have any wills born within them. However, over the course of countless years, since every expanse cosmos only had one single race residing in it and there were no mixed races who could be in conflict with each other, singular and weak wills had gradually been born over the years. They could not be counted as real wills, however. They were formed by countless beliefs grouped together. If they had enough time, and if the tribes in these expanse cosmoses could become stronger, they could even invade and occupy the other expanse cosmoses. One day, a real will could eventually be born like that. However, at that moment, even if the spiritlings had managed to accomplish this with much difficulty and their unique inborn abilities, the will born in the expanse cosmos was still not complete. It could be said that it did not belong to Arid Triad, because this sort of weak will was something Arid Triad would not pay attention to in the slightest. Su Ming also did not pay much attention to them either. With a swing of his arm, he could chase away all such wills. Compared to him, they were so weak that they could not even take a single blow from him. However, when Su Ming swung his arm and the owner of the galaxy was replaced with his will, he could sense clearly that the will he had chased away was shattering to bits before they came forth to fuse with him. This scene caused Su Ming's eyes to constrict in a barely noticeable fashion. He could no longer possess the other true worlds. It was the warning Arid Triad had given to him. If Su Ming violated this rule within the 100 years, Arid Triad would descend, and the disaster would be brought ahead of schedule. This was not what Su Ming wanted to see, which was why he did not continue to stir up Arid Triad's wariness against him. But right then, the changes in this place caused Su Ming's pupils to shrink. At the same time, he thought of a method to get out of the situation. The instant the expanse cosmos will was changed in a manner as if Su Ming had just deceived heaven itself, the middle-aged man was rendered flabbergasted. When he sucked in a sharp breath, he instinctively moved backwards with disbelief and shock on his face. You. Before he could finish speaking, Su Ming had already turned his head around to look at him coldly. He moved and instantly closed in on the middle-aged man, who shuddered. He quickly moved back, spread his arms, formed a seal, then pushed one hand towards the sky, and the other downwards before he roared. Ancestors of spiritlings, gather your souls on my body. Once he spoke, the planet trembled with a bang. The souls of the spiritlings' ancestors on the countless islands gathered on him and fused into his body, causing his level of cultivation to continuously increase. In an instant, he surpassed Avacania realm, but his cultivation base was still increasing at an explosive rate. However, Su Ming was unperturbed by it. He simply allowed the middle-aged man's cultivation base to become increasingly stronger and his expression to become more ferocious with each passing moment. When Su Ming closed in on the man, he brought his right hand up and swung his arm. Booming sounds echoed in the air, and the middle-aged man swiftly moved back. He coughed up a mouthful of spirit aura and threw his head back to roar madly at the sky. Many souls instantly gathered around him. They were the ancestors of the spiritlings. At that moment, they looked like black clouds from a distance. They swept out in all directions and charged towards Su Ming. The black clouds looked as if they had turned into a huge mouth, and it was about to devour Su Ming in one bite. But the moment they came into contact with him, Su Ming let out a cold harumph. He seized the air with his right hand, and it immediately turned into a huge hand to catch the black cloud that came to devour him. Booming sounds echoed through all of the spiritling expanse cosmos, and the black cloud that was formed by countless spiritling ancestors gathered together let out a shrill roar. When it shuddered, it looked as if it tried to break free from Su Ming's hand, but it could not do so. Once Su Ming seized it, the black cloud's roars shook the sky and earth. Countless shadows appeared that fought against each other to flee from the black cloud, but they could not do so. They could only be held by Su Ming and go down with him until he stood before the empty tombstone. Su Ming grabbed the huge black cloud with his right hand, then lifted his index finger. By using the black cloud as ink, he started carving words on the empty tombstone. Mother. Chen Su's grave. Every single time he wrote a word, shrill roars that were constantly increasing in intensity came from the black cloud. Each word contained a number of the souls of the spiritlings' ancestors. They continued dissipating as they roared because Su Ming was using them in words to worship his mother. The black cloud continued shrinking non-stop, and a wave of despair enveloped the souls in it. It was especially so for the middle-aged man. His voice was the shrillest. The pain the souls suffered was indescribable. They felt like the entire world was inflicting pain on them. Those who had died once would have two different reactions. One of them would be indifference to death, but most people would become even more fearful of death, and the ancestors of the spiritlings were the latter type. As they screamed shrilly in pain, Su Ming began carving words on the tombstone again. Your son, Su Ming, will use the souls of the spiritlings to honor you. When Su Ming finished writing, the black cloud in his right hand dissipated. The last to dissipate was the middle-aged man. Once his soul was crushed, Su Ming wrote the final word. The pain of despair caused the middle-aged man to feel as if he was about to go mad. At the moment before he dissipated, he felt as if he had returned to the past. When he saw the sacred lady of their people giving birth to that bastard fathered by a foreigner, the jealousy and madness in his heart had caused him to wipe off her existence once she passed away. This was the final scene in his memories, and after that, everything was empty. The carving of the words used up all the souls of the spiritlings' ancestors. Su Ming could not accept just punishing one tribe elder. If the sacred lady of the current generation had not stopped the event and was punished for it, then the spiritlings' ancestors who had watched the words on the tombstone belonging to Su Ming's mother being wiped off and her soul dissipating would not receive forgiveness either. Since they did not stop him, they were in the wrong. When Su Ming unfurled his right hand, everything was silent around him. He stared at the tombstone quietly, then knelt down and stayed like that for 3 days. Then, Su Ming stood up. He cast a glance at the tombstone again before he turned around and walked into the air. The galaxy was filled with his will, and countless wisps of the expanse cosmos were fused into him non-stop. As they gathered on Su Ming's will, it was nourished, and he became slightly stronger than before. He walked through the spiritlings' galaxy, and the bald crane followed behind him. It did not speak, because it had seen Su Ming's actions on the planet. It saw Su Ming kneeling for a prolonged period of time in front of the tombstone. After that it stayed beside Su Ming and just walked forward quietly. It did not know where Su Ming wanted to go, but since Su Ming did not want to speak, then it would also keep quiet. They continued walking until an incredibly ordinary-looking planet appeared before them. It did not have much spiritual energy, and it was incredibly desolate. There weren't even many cultivators there. Su Ming stared at the planet in silence for a moment before he walked over. He landed on an unbroken mountain range to the northeast of the planet and looked down on a village at the foot of the mountain. It was his mother's homeland, which he had seen when he saw the soul fragments past. He watched it silently, and after a long while he said faintly, "Either you go away, or you go away." Su Ming's murderous aura had not dissipated, and it was impossible for it to dissipate just because he had wiped off all the ancestors' souls to worship his mother. Even though he had never met his mother before, she was still his mother. Her soul had dissipated by then, and the reason for it was because of the previous tribe elder. Su Ming was already being merciful by not destroying all the spiritlings. The murderous aura in his heart did not dissipate. At that moment, if someone who could not read the mood came to provoke him, that person would have to face Su Ming, whose killing intent had reached a murderous degree. And precisely at that moment, a person who could not read the mood appeared. "You're far too conceited." A cold and sinister voice echoed in the air. Kang San Nu swiftly appeared on another mountain not too far from Su Ming. When he looked at Su Ming, an intense fighting spirit appeared in his eyes. "I am a sovereign of Dawn in Avacania realm." Kang San Nu had just started speaking and had yet to say his name while swinging his arm when Su Ming turned his head around. A hint of ferociousness as well as killing intent appeared on his face. "Get lost." When he said that one word, the world rumbled. The planet trembled slightly, and the entire expanse cosmos began shuddering. His voice was like roaring thunder, and the instant it reverberated through the expanse cosmos, the air in front of Su Ming distorted. Kang San Nu's expression changed drastically. The mountain range beneath him crumbled in an instant. It did not shatter to pieces, but was instantly reduced to ash. Kang San Nu coughed up 7 consecutive mouthfuls of blood, and he was forced back about 70,000 feet. When he finally managed to stop, he lifted his head swiftly, and shock appeared on his face. When Su Ming's voice echoed through spiritling expanse cosmos, Kang San Nu's heart shuddered. During that moment, 3 black-robed men appeared in spiritling expanse cosmos with bodies surrounded by fog. The 3 of them swiftly spread out, and as they traveled forward, Su Ming's will came into contact with them, but it would phase through them as if they were invisible. It seemed like his will could not detect the 3 black-robed men, like there was some strange object on the trio's bodies that would allow them to avoid his will. The 3 split into 3 directions. When they moved, They created multiple versions of themselves and entered almost each of the cultivation planets in Spiritling Expanse Cosmos in search of the powerful warriors in this galaxy. Once they did, they would whisper to them. Spiritling Expanse Cosmos will has been seized by someone else. This person has great bloodlust, is brutal and callous. Now that your Expanse Cosmos will has been snatched away, the Expanse Cosmos life will definitely end within 500 years, and a disaster will fall on you. In fact, from now on, all of the cultivators in this Expanse Cosmos will no longer be able to advance in your levels of cultivation, because this person has already taken away everything that belongs to you. This person has the personality of a demon, and his power is like that of a tree. When there are plenty of trees, a forest will be formed. We cannot cut it down, and neither can we destroy it. We can only seal it. We come from Life Extermination Hall. The three black-robed men searched for all the powerful warriors they could find in Spiritling Expanse Cosmos and said those words to them. The powerful warriors fell silent upon hearing them. They would normally not believe in unknown people's words so easily, but the name of Life Extermination Hall seemed to have chased away all their doubts and turned them into belief. Chapter 13:15. Kang San Enyu's confidence. There was one of the black-robed men in the cultivation planet where Su Ming stood. Once he said his things and walked out of a cave abode, he lifted his head and cast a glance at the sky. With it, a drop of crimson blood appeared at the center of his brow. It looked like it had been branded into his forehead. When it shone with a red light, it allowed him to see far into the distance, and he saw Su Ming standing at the top of the mountain. He also saw the shocked Kang San Enyu. He's just a mere cultivator in Avacania realm. How dare he provoke a person like this? This person is highly valued by the progenitor, and he has been preparing for that person for years. There is no way a mere cultivator in Avacania realm can affect him. If it weren't because the progenitor has given us his origin blood, we would not dare to show even a single strand of hair before this person. But now, even if this person has already surpassed Arid Triad, he will still be unable to find us. The black-robed man said faintly and swung his arm to turn into a long arc that flew into the sky before he disappeared without a trace. Kang San Enyu stared at Su Ming in shock. His face was slightly pale, but when he gritted his teeth, the unwillingness to admit defeat appeared on his face. Madness burned in his eyes, as if he had something he could depend on that made him absolutely confident that he could kill Su Ming. His will to fight instantly burned again. I am Kang San Enyu, and I am here to challenge you. Is this person an idiot? The bald crane laid down in a lackadaisical fashion beside Su Ming, then cast a sideways glance at the roaring Kang San Enyu. Strange. Why is there such a strange person in Dark Dawn's camp? Su Ming forced him back 70,000 feet with a shout, and he still dares to challenge him. The bald crane scrutinized Kang San Enyu, and it determined that he was an idiot. Dark Dawn's camp is quite interesting. Among the three sovereigns of Dawn, one is Yang Pei, and another one is an idiot. I wonder what the third one is like. A smug look appeared on the bald crane's face. It felt that if they were to compare their intelligences, the bald crane would definitely have the upper hand. I have killed 3 people from the previous eon who had woken up, so you will be the 4th I will kill. Then, I will change my name to Kang Sai Enyu. As Kang San Enyu roared, he raised his hands and swung them. The area around him was immediately dyed crimson. A strong bloody stench instantly filled the area. Once it did, the old man lifted his right hand and pushed downwards. Blood spirit. Roars immediately echoed in the blood-red world. 5 figures gathered up in the bloody air. They looked contorted and were covered in fresh blood. At the moment they appeared, they looked at Su Ming, then turned into 5 long arcs that charged towards him. As they approached him, Su Ming scowled. His murderous aura erupted from him at that moment. He brought his right hand up, then seized the air in front of him. With it, the incoming 5 blood spirits shuddered before they broke down into countless droplets of blood that charged towards Su Ming's right hand. They merged together to form a blood pearl above his palm. With a fierce squeeze, the blood pearl shattered, and ripples even stirred up in the air around him, causing distortions to appear. Then, the blood-red world shattered in the manner akin to how a mirror would break. Kang San Enyu's expression changed again. When he staggered backwards, he coughed up blood, but he still did not give up. Great confidence showed on his face. It stayed with him, causing him to believe that no matter what, he would definitely win the fight. He bit the tip of his tongue and coughed up blood. It immediately turned into a blood dragon, and once it roared at the sky, it sucked in a sharp breath. The crumbling blood-red world was immediately sucked into its mouth, and its body swelled up to 10,000 feet before it charged towards Su Ming. Since you want to die, I will fulfill your request. Su Ming's expression was dark. When he spoke, he took a step forward. He did not try to evade the blood dragon charging at him, but simply allowed it to open its mouth and devour him. The moment they came into contact with each other, Su Ming did not even bother to attack. However, the blood dragon let out a shrill scream of pain. Devouring Su Ming was like devouring an entire galaxy, and it was beyond what it could manage. Even colliding against him made it feel as if it had crashed into a wall that could not be shaken. The rebound that came back at it caused the blood dragon to roar in pain, and its body instantly crumbled. Su Ming did not stop. With one step, he instantly appeared beside Kang San Nu. He lifted his right hand and swung his arm, and Su Ming's will descended with a bang. Slave 1. Kang San Nu's expression changed. When he swiftly retreated, he opened his mouth and spat out a pearl. It let out a bang and crumbled to turn into green fog. When it collided with Su Ming's will, booming sounds filled the air, and a withered hand stretched out from the green fog. A presence that did not belong to their eon spread out from the arm. It moved so fast that the instant Su Ming's will came into contact with it, it tried to grab his right hand. Su Ming let out a cold harumph and simply allowed the right hand to seize his arm. Then he flipped his hand and pushed forward. With that push, the world roared, wind blew, and the green fog vanished to reveal a mummy that was once a child of about 8 or 9 years old. Red light was in the mummy's eyes. It did not possess any intelligence, and once it grabbed Su Ming's right hand, it pounced on him. Su Ming flung his arm, and a huge force erupted from his body to rush into the mummy's body. With a bang, the mummy crumbled. You have indeed surpassed a normal cultivator in Avacania realm, and you are indeed worthy of killing some of the weaker people who woke up. But you should not have provoked me, Su Ming said flatly. With the mummy alone, Kang San Nu already possessed the right to threaten some of those in Avacania realm. I'm very curious. What sort of method did you use to kill those who woke up, and why do you have such confidence that made you provoke me? Su Ming's eyes flashed. He did not care about the old man's appearance, but the mummy and its presence made it obvious that they were a sleeping person from the previous eon. Su Ming had met this sort of person before, but he could not kill him. He could only seal him. Yet right then, there was clearly the aura of death on the mummy, and its intelligence had clearly been wiped off before it was refined into a weapon. You can experience it yourself. Madness appeared on Kang San Nu's face. Once Su Ming destroyed the first mummy, he took a few steps backwards, and when he opened his mouth, he spat out another pearl that immediately turned into black air. Right after that, the third pearl flew out from Kang San Nu's mouth. The two pearls practically appeared at the same time. Once they turned into black and white fog respectively, two mummies appeared in them. One of them belonged to a man, and the other to a woman. When they appeared, the presence that did not belong to the current eon appeared once more. Once the two mummies appeared, the baffling confidence showed up on Kang San Nu's face again. Su Ming did not believe that the old man before him was an idiot or a madman who lusted after battles. On the contrary, Su Ming believed that the old man definitely had a skill in hand that allowed him such confidence, and that skill should be so incredibly powerful that it defied the laws of heaven. This belief was incredibly strong. While Su Ming did not sense any form of danger from the old man, but that belief was strong in his heart every single time they clashed. There was no way anyone who reached Avacania realm could be a fool. If the person dared to appear before him and still chose to attack after hearing his roar, it interested Su Ming. In the face of the two people who had once woken up but whose consciousness and lives had been wiped off so they became puppets, Su Ming seized air with his right hand. The end of Will's sword immediately appeared in his hand. With one slash, two rays of dazzling purple light instantly appeared. Once that purple light sliced through the mummies, the two puppets jolted and were torn apart in front of Su Ming before they were reduced to ash. During that moment, the sword in Su Ming's hand flew out and charged towards the center of Kang San Nu's brow. He wanted to force the old man to use that skill which gave him such confidence. He wanted to see just what caused this person to be so confident and what had allowed him to kill 3 powerful warriors from the previous eon who had fused with their other selves. The purple light from the end of Will's sword instantly closed in on its target. Kang San Enyu's expression changed. He instantly moved back, and a hint of ferociousness appeared on his face. Since all of his methods were useless against Su Ming and his 3 slaves, his killing moves could not even withstand a single blow. He could only use his final attack. He believed that once he brought out this item, Su Ming would be just like the other 3 people who had woken up. He would immediately die due to the shockwave, and he would instantly be able to turn the tides of battle and become the final winner. He believed in this firmly, because the item's strength was one which had never disappointed him before. He had not immediately brought the item out but kept it for the final moment because he liked the excitement and striking back when it looked like his opponent had the complete advantage. He could overturn all his enemies' advantages, which meant that his target would be struck by despair at the moment they were feeling the most confident. He loved watching how their expressions changed. That was why he did not feel any sense of loss when his 3 slaves were destroyed, because he knew that he was about to obtain a puppet who was even stronger than those 3 slaves. With confidence and madness on his face, right when the end of Will's sword closed in on him, Kang San Enyu threw his head back and laughed loudly. As he did so, he brought his right hand up and viciously struck the spot between his eyebrows. The clothes covering his chest were torn, and once his chest was revealed, Su Ming saw that there was a thin membrane the size of a palm on the old man's chest. It looked to be stuck to his body. When Su Ming saw it, a sense of danger instantly rose within him, and his heart jolted. It was at that moment that the end of Will's sword closed in on the old man, and an ancient presence swiftly spread out from the thin membrane. Su Ming's end of Will's sword shuddered swiftly, and it could no longer move forward. Everything in the area instantly fell silent. Su Ming stared at the membrane in fixation, and a loud bang shot up in his mind. This presence,